Well, we have talked a fair bit today about the fact that it's Valentine's Day, and as a result, a lot of people are reflecting on their love. For some people, they got married today. Others, it's just an important day to be able to express their love. But for a deeper look at why people work together, why is it that some people are perfectly matched? It has a lot to do, my next guest will tell you, with astrology. Brian Kendall, you've probably heard this name. Brian is a well-known Saskatchewan leader. He's an inventor. He created DateMate. It's an app that he took to Dragon's Den and had some success on Dragon's Den. And between now and noon, we've got Brian joining us in studio. Brian Kendall, thank you so much for joining the show today.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
It's great to have you here. So, before we even get into your app, DateMate, which is really the bulk of what we're wanting to talk about, if I look at what you've invented, oh my gosh, you've invented a lot of things. Is this just something that's always been an interest to you?
Well, I guess so, yeah. You know, when I think I was like 6 or 7 years old, I started mixing my shampoo and conditioner together. And I'm an older fella. I'm in my 60s, so that was quite a bit before that 2-in-1 came out. So I've always had an eye for, just taking things and how can it be improved? How can you take this and that and combine them together, sort of thing. I guess I've always, I've been a closet inventor, but I found out that somebody already invented the closet. So I gotta keep trying.
Fair enough. You're also a part-time comedian. I like it. So let's talk about your app, DateMate. I actually remember seeing you on Dragon's Den. It was season 9, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's right. It's still, I think you can still just, go into Google and type
season and find
9
it.
Astrologer.
So talk to me first about the app, and maybe even back up a little bit more, your interest in astrology.
Well, my interest came when I was a manager of a retail store, and a guy I hired at the time, I didn't believe in anything other than, Christ and but astrology was just hogwash to me. I didn't want to have anything to do with it. I thought it was horoscopes in the newspaper. And the fellow, he just kept, guy I hired said, let me tell you, what's your birthday? I'm going to give you a reading. And I kind of finally gave in, and it was just, wow. He seemed to describe not just me, but some of my family members just by our birthdays. So, yeah, that kind of was what set it off. That was about 30 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so did you, after that, obviously you had an interest in it. Was it just reading? Was it learning? Did you take classes? What's your journey been like through your love of astrology?
Yeah, no, I'm not trained at all. And I went on for the longest time, called myself astrologist, like a scientist.
Right.
But I found out, oops, that's not even what they call themselves. It's astrologer. Ah. So now I call myself an astrologerist, just because I'm self-taught. But my interest became in the fact that there seemed to be a physical connection, like the way the moon lifts the tides twice a day. The earth is 80% water, and people are 80% water. So it became a kind of a physical connection. These planets are here and there, and people can predict what a personality is. There's got to be something to it.
And is there something to it? Have you consistently verified in your mind that astrology can clearly help you understand how certain people tick?
Yeah, in my mind I can. And, I do a lot of online readings and things like that. There's when COVID started, there was a social distance group that you could do astrology on Fridays. And, when you can take a total stranger and take the month and day of their birthday, again, astrology chart, to do it properly, you need to know the time of date, and you would do all 12 planets and that sort of thing. But with the month and the day, I can take a lot of information and apply it to that person to a point where they go, okay.
Is that right?
How are you able to do that? And so my whole approach has always been just the basics of getting people, like, if you actually take astrology classes, the technical terms and all that are overwhelming, and it's very difficult to get your mind around it. So I took a more basic approach where I turned degrees into percentages and say, well, you're 50% this and 50% that sign and that type of thing, and it tended to resonate with people a little bit better.
Well, we are going to, coming up after 11:30, we'll give people a chance if someone wants to call in and have you tell them their personality traits to a high degree of accuracy with just a little bit of information about the month and date of birth. I think that's something that a lot of people will be interested to hear. So I'm looking forward to that. We're chatting with Brian Kendall, who is the creator of DateMate app. And you went on Dragon's Den. You were successful. Tell me what that experience was like.
Well, prior to that, being an astrologer, first off, astrology is more of a female-oriented sort of, interest. Way more females are interested in. And when you're a man trying to tell a woman, here's your personality, that doesn't quite go over all that well. It was quite difficult at first. So getting on the show, and ultimately getting a deal on TV, was an incredible door opener.
Right.
It just became, prior to that, it was, can I talk? Because astrology is in business, it's in politics. There's a lot of applications. In fact, I think it's 50% of the top 500 Fortune companies employ astrology in their decisions.
Is that right? When you're talking about the moon, I think back to a almost 30-year career in policing. We used to say and firmly believe there was something about a night with a full moon. We were usually busier that night. It just seemed like there was more stuff happening on a night with a full moon. Do you give credit to that?
Oh, well, it's not, you seem,
Yeah.
It is. It truly is. In fact, the term lunatic came from lunar moon. And so it's not just people, it's animals, it's all living things, actually. And the reason why, again, I attribute to the physical force of the moon. It's the closest. And so that spinning action is kind of a magnetic force lifting up on, the tides and things like that. And when it's the closest, it has the most magnetic draw, per se, the most power. And so literally I envision that, all the cells in your blood and the pressure in your body is also increasing.
As a result of that, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's why full moons, and there's a study called Moonstruck for Investors. It was a 35-year study of data from 40 countries, and they found out that investing on new moons, when the power of the moon is much less, is 3 to 5% higher than full moons.
Wow. Yeah, it's interesting.
So there's a lot of data.
Yeah, I was going to say, listening to and seeing the data behind this. Okay, we have to take a break. We're chatting with Brian Kendall, who is an astrologer. He's the creator of the DateMate app. And when we come back, I'm going to get you to, I'll give you my date of birth, and we'll see about what you would say about me. I want to hear about some of the other more famous people that you've done a bit of a deeper dive on. And if you're good with it, we'll open up the phone lines and take a couple calls. That good with you, Brian?
Love to, yeah.
Good stuff. Sure. We'll be right back with Brian Kendall here on 650 CKOM and 980 CJME. It's an interesting conversation we're having with Brian Kendall, who is the creator of an app called DateMate. He's an astrologer. He actually took his app onto Dragon's Den, season 9. He was successful. So what did success look like for you, Brian? Did you got a dragon as a partner? Did you have to change your business plan? Did you have to make many adaptations?
Well, the actual, there's a lot of, if you follow the progress of those deals, many of them actually don't go through. They call it due diligence. And that's what happened to me, per se. But the thing is that often you're just talking to the assistant sort of thing, right, and you send back and forth your financial data and things like that. And I would guess a majority of them fall through on due diligence because, you're only on the TV show for a few minutes, right? So, so you're shaking hands and you got the deal. It falls through, but for myself, it was still an incredible opportunity in that you're still on TV as a successful, deal. Mm-hmm. Plus, I got to, my dragon was Vikram Vij, and of course, East India, that's where actually astrology, they take that in university and in public school.
Right.
Like it's part of their culture. And so, the opening of the doors was worth more than the deal, per se.
Have you done this work? So basically what your specialty is, you can tell someone their personality traits to a high degree of accuracy with just the month and date of birth that they have, basically, is how it works, correct?
Well, I can do complete charts, but again, the month and the day, because astrology, a lot of people kind of mislead it for horoscopes, where you're going to tell somebody that
what their future is.
All of these people in July are going to have this.
Yeah.
And I don't follow that at all. I just don't see any accuracy in that. And so I just limited my knowledge and my path to the day you were born, where were those planets, and what influence do they make on your personality and your energy and your, all the different things about you. And then a different birthday. If they have these traits and you have these traits, what are the conflicts? What are the, positive, negative, that sort of thing.
Very cool. Have you done any big names? Have you done charts for even if they didn't request it? If you just found out the information you needed, done a bit of a chart reading for someone?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Like after the show, the door opening was great. I got a lot of those, I guess we call them B-side sort of reality stars. So, the ex-wives of rock and roll. I did the whole cast, basically, and become friends with them because, again, if you're pretty accurate and, when people can take that information and apply it to everyday life, it's quite empowering.
Good stuff.
And I also, there was a newspaper here in the Saskatoon called the Saskatoon Express. It was a weekly, and Cam Hutchinson was the editor of it. And I did Donald Trump's astrology chart before he was famous.
Really? But before he was president?
Before he was president, yeah. Okay. When he announced his presidency, they said, okay, do his chart. And, again, I can, show you that, but it was pretty. Can
you give us a sense? Like what did his chart reading show?
So his, birthday is, Gemini. I think it was June 10th. And, Gemini is an air sign that is very communicative. So you can talk about everything. You've got an interest in almost everything, but you don't like to kind of scrape for details. That's boring.
Right.
And so, they're also known as the twins. So they might say one thing and do the other. Okay. Then, he also, the other planet showed some things like he had, Leo in one of his planets, and that's sort of the loud and proud, let me roar, Leo the lion.
Right.
And he had a lot of Cancer in his sort of decision-making planets. And so he'd use his sort of emotions as his thought process.
Interesting. Well, I mean, so much of that stuff, I don't know Donald Trump, but I certainly feel like I do because of how much he's in the news. So many of those things you're saying are things that we are seeing from him.
Yeah. And again, that was, I think it was 2015 or 16. It was just before he,
became president.
Yeah. And so it's in the news. It's online. It's out there. And, the accuracy is pretty incredible. And again, I didn't make this information up. I just interpreted it. Mm-hmm. And so, it wasn't something that I've gotten this magic power or anything. It was just, this is what it says. And
right.
A few years later, we find out, okay, yeah, that seems to be accurate.
I've had a couple of people texting in saying, a little too shy to come on the air and have him do a bit of a kind of a read on me, but I would like to connect with him. How can they connect with you off air? Where can people find you?
Well, mostly on Facebook, Brian Dennis Astrology. Or Brian Dennis Astrology at Outlook.com if you want to shoot me an email. I'd love to do your charts, and I don't necessarily charge people for basic astrology charts. I just like doing it, and a lot of people, because I find they think astrology is horoscopes and don't understand. Honestly, it's a big science. And so not understanding astrology is why a lot of people don't believe in it, because if you don't understand, there's a moon sign and all these different planets and the influences they take. That's sort of one of the reasons why people are against astrology. But again, it's more, I believe astrology is on the rise in popularity, younger people especially. And because the reason is because online now you can get your charts done and things like that at almost no charge as well. And when you see that information about maybe not just you, your friend or your mother or your parent, astrology is not just for who's your soulmate. It can explain why do you and your brother not get along, or
right.
all of it.
Yeah. It's a real interesting topic. Brian Dennis Astrology at outlook.com if you want to email, or just look up Brian Dennis Astrology through Facebook. You can get a hold of him there as well. So I know we had a couple of our employees, Mia and Alex, Mia Hollowaychuk, who's one of our CKOM news reporters, Alex Brown, who of course hosted the host of Talk Shots on the weekend, with noses pressed up against the window saying, we would love to come in. So, Alex, I'll turn it over to you and Mia, and I'm interested to hear what Brian's got to say to you.
Okay. I am so into this and very excited, Brian,
Excellent.
to chat with you. So what information you need to know when and where I was born?
Well, not the where, you need the when and the where, like right to the minute if you want to do all of the planets. But I can just maybe take just your month and your day. Okay. Because that's a lot of work doing that. But the month and the day, I can give you a lot of information.
June 14th.
So June 14th, you're getting close to, you're basically 3/4 of Gemini. This is where the sun was the minute you were born. It was 3/4 in Gemini, but it was leading a little bit into Leo. And so your Gemini traits are, again, you're in the industry where you like to talk, and the Gemini likes to talk and communicate.
Nailed it.
It's an air sign, right? So communication is very important. Gemini is also, I guess, what you could call a masculine sign, and that you tend to use your thought process for your own well-being. And so I'm going to put my own, not use my emotions so much. Mm-hmm. But you also do have a little bit of Cancer. I think I said Leo, but it's actually Cancer. So the Cancer side, you've got about 25%, and that's sort of the home and the family, and hopefully everything is, I don't like emotions going crazy. I don't want to worry about that stuff. I want everybody to be happy and talk about your whole family is all.
Yeah, I'm a peacemaker. Yeah. I'm a people pleaser, so that checks out. So if I give you my partner's birthday, can you talk about compatibility? I can talk
about some of the things that might be good or bad, or what's going on.
October 30th.
Yeah, so October 30th, well, I should know this quite well. It's basically close to my sister's birthday. Oh. And so that is basically about 70% Scorpio, but with a little bit of Libra, right? So the sun had just came out of Libra. October 20th, I believe, is when it starts. So October 29th, you're about 75% Scorpio. And Scorpio is a water sign. And so that's very powerful mind. They can, their imagination, they might be into different things like Homer Simpson and video games and things like that.
That's so accurate.
Well, and again, and it's mostly a feminine sign. And so they're very heartfelt, but they don't display it openly.
Interesting.
It's something that they keep close to themselves. But they also have a little bit of Libra in it, and so that Libra is the justice. They see every sign equally, and it's also a bit of an air sign, so you've got some connection with that air sign as well, that Libra likes to talk a little bit about everything.
Fascinating.
It is fascinating stuff. Wow. Brian Kendall is our guest today. Brian Dennis is the name of the astrology work that he does. Brian Dennis Astrology on Facebook. You can even shoot him an email if you like. Brian Dennis Astrology at outlook.com. A number of people are texting in saying they're fascinated to hear more, and I'm guessing you're going to get some emails about this. Mia Hollowaychuk, I know you're joining us in studio as well. Go ahead. We'll turn it over to you.
First of all, I'm so excited to be here. My birthday is August 2nd.
August 2nd. So August 2nd is getting close to 100% Leo the lion. And Leo likes to be admired, but not to be admired because you admire other people. You show them how to be grandiose and that sort of thing. It's a fire sign. So you've got fire in you. You want to keep active and that sort of thing. And it's also near 100% masculine, so nobody's going to pull at your heartstrings the wrong way without you using your head as a decision maker. That's kind of the basics of August 2nd.
What do you say to that, Mia?
I like it. Pretty accurate, I'd say.
Well, Leo is good at stuff too, right? Leo the lion, Tom Brady, right? The best at everything is near 100% Leo. So when you set your mind to something, you want to be good at it.
Well, great.
Some people say Mia is the Tom Brady of our newsroom.
That's what they've been saying.
They say that.
I didn't know that. I'm going to look for that
now. Maybe try my partner. He is July 11th.
So July 11th is, again, the way astrology works, about July 5th is the middle of Cancer. So about 100% July 5th Cancer. So July 11th, you're moving into a little bit of Leo traits, but you still got a lot of Cancer, which is that emotion. I want everything to be good and happy, and we don't want people having drama and things like that. Cancer is also, again, that home loving, everything at home is my life. And so the two of you with Cancer and Leo, it's typically not incredibly positive, but the thing is that Cancer loves that to be, pampered at home, that, make a beautiful home, and Leo loves to have that sort of cater to me sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So again, but there's also 12 planets. So the other planets are going to this is sort of your sun sign, just your outward force, just the things that you can't control. This is the way I am. Your moon sign is kind of your inner, what can I do? How do I feel thoughtful? My own thoughts. Your Mars sign is your energy. So, if you've got low energy or you don't like to use a lot of it, you might, be a Pisces, like the fish that likes to swim downstream, that sort of thing. So there's 12 planets, and to do a complete astrology chart, you match up each planet and see where does your Venus fall, where does your Mars fall, where do all the planets fall, and then you can do a more accurate. But from the outside, it's not bad. It's not the worst.
Good stuff.
It's not super perfect, but I don't see huge problems.
I was going to say that's life, right? That's life. I love it, Brian. This is good. We're going to have to take a break. Mia Holloway-Chuck, Alex Brown, thanks for popping into the studio. I might have known you guys wanted to be in on this discussion. So great to have you in. Thanks for joining us. We're going to be right back. And again, if you're interested in learning more about the work that Brian does, it's Brian Dennis Astrology. You can look it up on Facebook or shoot him an email, briandennisastrology@outlook.com. Our astrologer will be back with some closing thoughts when we get back here on 650 CKOM and 980 CJME.
Hello, I love you, won't you tell me your name? Hello, I love you, let me jump in your game.
We're talking about astrology on Valentine's Day, and our astrologer today, by the way, again, you can find him on Facebook, Brian Dennis Astrology. Search that on Facebook or shoot him an email at briandennisastrology@outlook.com. How is the app DateMate? How did things go with that?
Well, I mean, that was quite a few years ago where an app was very expensive. So the $10,000 on-air deal was nowhere near enough. And again, getting an app done is one thing, and then telling the world about it is
of course,
another
marketing.
expense.
Yes.
So the app itself, it only is a kind of what they call a spider, kind of a basic program that's not even online.
Sure.
And again, it's at some point probably, but the whole thing is basically my formula of how I work out who's your match and things like that. Mm-hmm. That's again more of a personal thing as well that I still like to talk to people about. And
sure, we've only got about a minute and a half left. February 22nd for Evan Bray. What are you telling me, Brian?
February 22nd, you're a bit on the cusp of Aquarius and Pisces. So Aquarius is that sign that wants to take care of the world, holding the world up on the on their shoulder. And so you see hard work is for everyone. Work hard, be courteous to everybody, sort of thing. And your other side is Pisces, that fish. And so Pisces likes to swim downstream and have everything go well. A bit of that Cancer water sign. So emotions, you like everybody to be happy, and stress would probably bother you.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say even people that listen to this show for the last year and a bit are probably going, yeah, I can see that. It's interesting stuff, Brian. I appreciate you being on the show. There's a number of people, again, that have reached out for your contact info. The best way to find Brian is either through Facebook, Brian Dennis Astrology on Facebook, or shoot him an email, briandennisastrology@outlook.com. Brian, thank you so much for coming on the show. Happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah, same to you. Appreciate it.
Great to have you here. Brian Kendall, who has done some pretty cool stuff when it comes to astrology, and a lot of people saying, gosh, I would love to be able to connect with Brian, which you can, as I said, by checking it out on Facebook.